the thing about the autumn statement that's caught my eye more than anything, because I was kind of expecting same old Tory stuff, but this is what Jeremy Hunt said about what he's proposing with the autumn statement.
I'll tell you what I've been saying about our welfare system for the last year. It is wrong when we have 1 million vacancies in the economy that we are signing off as into welfare and with no obligation to look for work over 500,000 people every year, even though many of those people would actually like to work. Surely the right thing for those people who have sickness and disability is to try and cure their sickness. So what I announced with Mel Stride this week is that we are going to give support to more than 1 million people to help them get well enough to work, including 500,000 people being given extra mental health support. And yes, there will be people who are not sick or don't have a disability, who've been out of work for a very long time. We say, look, if you're not engaging with the process, if you don't engage for 6 months, then we are going to close your case and stop your benefits. That's only fair to the taxpayers who pay those benefits. But I actually think that getting people into work, making work pay, actually is good for people. There is a philosophical difference between what we believe in the Conservatives and what the Labour Party believe. We don't believe in parking people on welfare.
What a horrible bloke. What I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, we all know this is the same as after 2010 when they started to tap disabled people as the reason the economy had tanked. What's the? I mean, there was a demo, wasn't there, on Friday? What's been the reaction from DPAC to this?
Let's go back before the autumn statement when the government and the DWP announced major changes to the work capability assessment and the descriptors, and they had a consultation in October, which was only 4 weeks. A consultation of this magnitude, which is going to have devastating impact on disabled people's lives, should be a minimum of 3 months to meet the Equality Act and an equality impact assessment, and the government haven't done that. What DPAC have done is launched a legal challenge with the Good Law Project, challenging the DWP over the consultation, and work is ongoing at the moment, and I can't really say much about that because it's a live legal challenge, obviously. So work is going on behind the scenes to look at where we go with the, if we can get a judicial review around the work capability assessment. I'd love to know how Jeremy Hunt's going to cure everyone's disability, because when doctors, can't cure chronic pain and can't cure depression and everything, that's an absolute load of rubbish. So he knows better than millions of doctors and all the rest of it. And when people are put in a support group with supportive medical evidence, and it needs to be said this by doctors, it means they are not well enough to work. It's not, there is a huge difference, and these assessments are really, really rigorous, it needs to be said. But what we have seen over the last several months is an increasing hostility in the mainstream media, demonisation of disabled people that were fraudsters, with shirkers and all the rest of it. Well, when you've got benefit fraud at like it's at 0.7, you've got tax avoidance at 90%. It's the tax avoiders they should be going after. And also, to counter argue with Jeremy Hunt, we're all taxpayers. We all pay tax on pretty much everything. So, and also, a great many of us have worked an awful long time. We pay into the system, So for him to say it's absolute crapshoot. But going back onto some of what he's talking about, now he's talking about this thing called the Back to Work plan. So this is going to impact on universal credit claimants who have been told to job search. So if you've had a sanction of 6 months, and they're saying if you're not going to engage with what the work coach is saying to you, basically what they will do is shut your universal credit claim down completely, But what he didn't mention in what he said, there will be you will not be able to reclaim for a specific amount of time. So you'll be left with no support for a specific amount of time. Also, what he didn't say there, which we feel is incredibly, that this whole thing is incredibly dangerous. He's going to be taking away, when you've been sanctioned, your entitlement to free prescriptions. Well, many people need, medication to keep going and everything. And also take away access to legal aid and also access to what energy support is available. This is incredibly dangerous and punitive measures by Jeremy Hunt and the DWP. And I think I need to say to disabled people out there, I know that many of you are anxious and really worried about what's coming down the track here. Many of the measures that were announced in the autumn statement will not come in until after the next general election. It's going to take some considerable time for them to implement a lot of this. But I think what we need all of you to do now, we need support. We need support on the street. We need support online. We need support. We need action. We need words turning into action. We need anger turning into action. That is important more than anything. We need numbers out there now, okay? We advertised our action on Friday, and it was good to see a group of disabled people who've never been involved in activism before come out. We need everyone in large numbers, disabled or not, because you can lose your job tomorrow and you will be hit by this conditionality. And also, it's got to be said that they're ramping up in-work conditionality, especially if you're a part-time worker on 18 hours. And we found out that many, 27% of disabled workers have been pulled now into in-work conditionality. But it's normally women who've been hit by benefit sanctions to date, especially part-time working. And in the past, when you've got 1 million emergency food parcels, it's normally families with children and disabled people who need that support. And you're seeing across the country food banks running out of food and turning people away. In fact, we've got a food bank locally in Bromley who are now means testing people to see if they can qualify for support because food donations are so low. And I'm going to ask everybody now, and I know it's hard and everyone's struggling, if you've got a packet of something that you can put in a food bank or something, it would really help because, winter coming, the fuel rises and everything. But what we're going to see with the work capability assessment is they're changing the descriptors. So people who were in the limited work-related activity group who didn't have to look for work will be pulled into conditionality and sanctions. That by 2028 to 2029, we're going to see 371,000 disabled people pulled into conditionality and sanctions, many of these with mental distress. And by the government's own admission, only 10,000 of this number will actually find any kind of employment. And when they talk about working from home, well, where are those jobs? Because when you had the government a while ago telling offices to open up the office spaces and get people back in the office and everything like that, this is just absolute. They're just renaming plans and everything like that. Most of them have shown over 13 years they're complete and utter failures. They don't work. Basically, what it is just to cut the social security budget to its bare bones with the absolute end game of abolishing the welfare state. And I think that is really crucial. And what we've seen in 13 years is we've seen a complete ramping up of poverty, of destitution. We've got 1 million children in this country in destitution today, 1 million children. And we should, for the 5th richest country in the world, we shouldn't be having food banks. Everyone should be able to feed themselves. Everyone should have the right to a warm home. Everyone should have that. If you need support when you're too unwell to work, you shouldn't be persecuted like this. And if you're, lost your job, there's support there for you. But this support just isn't there. And I think the end game with the white paper, with the Work Health and Disability white paper, is by they want to completely abolish the work capability assessment. You will have one assessment, which is a toughened personal independence payments assessment. And we've got 635,000 disabled people who don't qualify for BIP, who will lose in 5 years over £5,000, plunging them further into destitution and misery. And basically, what we're seeing, what the sickening thing, as though all of this is sickening enough, but the nucleus of this is with the UC uprating in future, it will be around removing people from their disability benefit support. So to uprate the UC uprating. And, you know, when you talk about disabled workers, since the pandemic, and I want to make this clear, since the pandemic, 1 in 5 disabled people in work have reported that employers have refused to meet their access needs in the workplace. That we're seeing from disabled workers an increasing of bullying, intimidation, putting them on disciplinaries, trying to force them out the workplace. I know 3 Unite members who are disabled workers at the moment who work in the finance sector, who are going through that at the moment and are having to bring complaints around. And when I was at a Unite meeting yesterday, and Vicky Foxcroft was actually at the meeting, and she was talking about the disability employment scheme. And she was saying that part of the scheme, that she filled out section 1, and she has 7 people that she employs on a disability confidence scheme, apparently. And apparently there was part of her application that she was told she didn't have to fill in for 3 years. 27% of employers that have signed up to the disability employment scheme haven't employed one disabled person. It's a crock of shit, to be honest with you. It's absolutely rubbish. What this is about, and let's be totally honest about this, is to demonize disabled people, demonize people who are not in work. By hook or by crook, we will put you in unsuitable, unsustainable, low paid, precarious jobs that are a couple of weeks at most, if you're lucky to get anything at all, that will not pay you bills, but will keep you in poverty, just keep you trapped in poverty. But also, you're going to see the ramping up of further sanctions, the ramping up of homelessness, and the ramping up of more people dying. Have we not lost enough people? 1 death is 1 too many.